What's up, guys? Josh Payne here, 24/7 Sports, joined as always this time every week by Steve Wiltfong, National Director of Recruiting. It is the weekly Wiltfong Recruiting Whip Around. It is jam-packed. We wouldn't bring it to you if it wasn't. Steve, let's start with Florida. And I'm looking yesterday, scrolling through the old iJosh as you do, and there's Scooby Williams. And I remember once upon a time it was going to be Bama, Auburn, Bama, and boom, he is now committed to the Florida Gators. So the team rankings say they're number 8. I know they finished number 9, so they finished inside the top 10 a couple of years in a row. Like, where does this class sit right now?
Well, Florida's looking to finish in the top 10 for a third straight cycle, Josh. And Jeremiah Scooby Williams was a big pickup for the Gators. He's one of the more electric edge rushers in this class. When you're talking about that explosiveness off the edge and ability to get to the quarterback, the instincts, the ability, this is a guy that checks all the boxes, can play in space, a physical football player, 3.8 GPA kid, high football IQ. He checks all the boxes. And this is a monster recruiting win for Florida because in Gainesville for a while, I bet they thought he was going to Auburn. But Scooby Williams is actually going to the school he wanted to go to. He visited Florida in the spring, told me he nearly committed to Florida then. He just had to get his mom on board. His mom didn't go on that trip to Florida, but Florida did a Zoom meeting with her. Even so, Scooby Williams had a commitment date for early October, or here in October. He postponed the decision. Maybe if Auburn's 5-0, maybe he's an Auburn Tiger. But I think his heart was always with the Florida Gators, and he backed off his decision and ended up committing to Florida. And this is a class that's really coming together for the Gators on the defensive side of the ball. When you add Scooby Williams, who's one of the best edge guys in this class, to Jason Marshall, who's certainly one of the top corners in this class, and then you talk about Tyreek Sapp, who's one of the more talented, highly recruited defensive linemen out of St. Thomas Aquinas, and then you look at what's still on the bone for Florida as they try and finish in the top 10 for a third straight cycle. Most of their targets that they have left, Josh, are on the defensive side. You have Tanmezi Adelaide out of Katy Tompkins High, former Ohio State commit. He's down to Alabama, Florida, and Texas A&M. There's been a lot of Gator smoke here since he decommitted from the Buckeyes, but no question those other two programs are in the mix. Xavier Sori, one of the most sought-after linebackers in the country, a guy who's in position to finish as a 5-star recruit in the top 247. He just took a visit to Florida on his own. That's a Florida-Georgia battle. They play a big football game in 2 weeks, and I think we're going to be talking a lot about that because Florida and Georgia are going toe-to-toe for several guys down the stretch. Another one of those young men is the number 2 safety in the top 247 in Terrion Arnold, and I like Florida's chances for Terrion Arnold right now. Terrion Arnold's going to drop a top 5 in December, and then he's going to commit after that. But I think Florida and Georgia and Alabama are already in good position to be in that top 3, and I would lean Florida right now for Terrion Arnold with Georgia giving chase. Love Florida still for local defensive lineman Bryce Langston. I think he's going to end up in the fold for them, and then they're pushing the one offensive target is an offensive lineman, Yusuf Mugerbil out of North Carolina. Have the Gators forecasted on the crystal ball for him. Tim Brewster leading the charge in that recruitment. But the big names, Tanmezi, Sori, Bryce Langston, Terrion Arnold, they'd still love to get 4-star defensive lineman Aaron Armitage, who's announcing here in November. USC's the crystal ball favorite. Stanford, Oregon, Florida, a few of the other contenders for Aaron Armitage. But Florida's going to be one of the fun teams to follow down the stretch with some of the elite guys still strongly considering playing for Dan Mullen and company.
You mentioned Georgia there. Georgia obviously heavily involved with Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, who is set to commit later this week. And from Gaffney, South Carolina, I was talking to you about that, home of Frank Underwood of House of Cards. Also that little Peach Water Tower, Steve, if you've never been there. So let's set his recruitment, the finalists. How does that look? And maybe any other things of note in the state of Georgia as we sit here today.
Well, Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins is a guy that we love at 24/7 Sports. He's in our top 100. He's the number 5 defensive tackle overall, and this has been undercover, one of the more coveted defensive line recruits in the SEC, and he's going to announce his college decision on Friday, October 30th, the day before Halloween, and he's got 4 finalists. They're Georgia, that's Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and I think that this one's really going to come down to the Bulldogs in South Carolina. And on Monday, I logged the 24/7 Sports Crystal Ball forecast in favor of Georgia. I think that the Bulldog staff has done the best job with Ingram. He was going to commit to Tennessee in the spring, and I think it was Georgia that halted it. And I think he has a great relationship with the Georgia staff. Obviously starts with Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, Coach Scott, Coach Schumann. He's got like 4 coaches that he talks to regularly, and I think that shows you how coveted he is by the Bulldogs. But 6'5", 298 pounds. 18 months ago, his defensive coordinator at Gaffney High told me that he still thought he was a basketball player, but he's put on 50-plus pounds since June of 2019, and he's just really developed into a monster at the point of attack, and he's an important recruit down the stretch for these programs, and I think he's ultimately going to end up at Georgia, and it's a big one for Georgia as they still have an outside shot to finish with the number 1 class nationally for the 3rd time in 4 cycles.
So I'm looking right now, Steve, at a number of players. I want to talk about Derek Davis, number 2 safety overall. It's a 4-star kid out of Pennsylvania. And I was asking you before we started recording about who all's involved there. Where does his recruitment sit? So now that we've pressed record, let's just talk about him on air. Derek Davis, the very latest.
Yeah, so Derek Davis is the number 2 safety in the 24/7 Sports Composite. I know you guys heard me say earlier, Terrion Arnold is the number 2 safety in the top 247. Y'all know the difference. I don't have to explain that. We love both of them, though. And Derek Davis, he just set the touchdown record for Monroeville Gateway High, that prestigious program in the Pittsburgh area. He scored 5 more times over the week. He's got 76 career scores playing on offense, had 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown last Friday, and then also picked off a pass to continue to fill the box score like he does. And he's as coveted a player as there is in his part of the country. And he's going to announce his college decision on November 7th. And he just attended the Buckeye Bash at Ohio State. Now, he's been to Ohio State over 10 times. Obviously, we're in the pandemic. It's an NCAA recruiting dead period, so he's not allowed to meet with Ryan Day and his staff in person on this visit. But what he did get to do is spend a lot of time with Ohio State's recruiting class that ranks number 2 nationally. But a guy like Derek Davis would be another big pickup as they battle Alabama and Georgia and a couple others ultimately for number 1. Jack Sawyer, the 5-star defensive lineman, he hosted the Buckeye Bash. He had several commits there. Derek Davis was the lone uncommitted guy there, talking to the recruits or the commits that spent time with them, talking with Derek Davis's dad. It was a big visit, and Derek felt like he really fit in, and Derek's dad felt like he fit in with the Ohio State parents. They're going to go to LSU this weekend, and they're going to check out Baton Rouge, and they really want to see the academic buildings and things of that nature, because Derek Davis is another high academic kid. But they want to get a feel for LSU. They haven't been there. Penn State's the crystal ball favorite right now. They've been in this thing for 4 years. Ohio State's been in this thing for 4 years. LSU's making a late push. I could still see it going a couple different ways, but I think there is some momentum with the Buckeyes right now. And so you're going into a big Ohio State-Penn State game on the field. It's a huge opportunity for James Franklin and his staff to show Derek, hey, we're right there. Because one thing Derek Davis's dad said to me about Ohio State after the visit was, Ohio State, they're not a program on the rise. They're there. They're a program that's in the conversation every year to win a national championship. And so there's a big chance, a big opportunity for Penn State to wipe the bad taste off their mouth from their loss in Bloomington and impress a couple recruits with a good showing against Ohio State.
Steve Wiltfong, best in the business. As always, keep it locked on 247sports.com for all the latest. Steve and I will see you next week, sir.